So I've consciously chosen two assets which have the same volatility. Let's call them A and B. My question is, where do I find assets A and B on the right-hand side?
They are both in the security market.
Yeah, and where exactly? So let me just repeat that if someone has not understood this or heard this. So there, you said that both assets are on the security market line, and that's a very good answer because it's true for all assets, right? So not only those two, all the assets will be on the security market line. Because simply speaking, this equation here is now true for any asset, right? And there's basically no room where you could be on other. You can't be here and here in the white area. But where exactly do we find this? Well, I haven't told you what the betas are, right? But how can we graphically determine that? Well, the trick is to look at the y-axis. That's actually the same in both plots, right? So the way to do this is just go take the same return on the right-hand side, and there you have your asset. So our first asset B will be here, and the other asset A will be up here. And you can see that if you go down, you can kind of read up what those assets will be. So this is the beta of B, and this is the beta of A. So remember, they both have the same volatility, but they have very different betas, because the beta is the thing that in equilibrium determines their return. So if this one has a low return, it must have a lower beta. That's basically the same thing. So suppose for a second that was not the case. Suppose the return of B here would be much higher, would be up here. Can that be feasible? Can asset B exist up here? Or can asset A exist down here, for example? Come back to the point that you said correctly, that everything should be on the security market line, but suppose it's not. You have an idea? You can pick any case. So first idea would be B up here, or the other one A down there. Can that happen? Well, that answer should hopefully be clear, since your answer was correct that everything should be on the security market line. But why doesn't that work? Think through the logic here of equilibrium. We determined last week that everyone wants to hold the tangency portfolio. The tangency portfolio was the same for everyone, right? So everyone holds a share of the tangency portfolio, which is the same portfolio for everyone. Now, the tangency portfolio is also equal to the market, and the market is the portfolio of all securities, right? So everyone buys a share of everything, right? So you hold a little fraction of every asset that's out there. If that was not the case, then the market portfolio would not be the tangency portfolio, right? But we're now in equilibrium, right? So everyone buys everything. Now, suppose the asset A would be down here. That means it offers a very low return for its given risk, right? So basically, no one would want to have it. But how does that work with equilibrium if we assume that everyone buys the asset? And if it was down here, it means that everyone wants to sell it. No one wants to have it. So that can't be an equilibrium solution, right? And conversely, if you're above the line, it means that you have a very high return for a given level of beta, so everyone wants to have more of that, right? So that also doesn't work out because it's not equilibrium, right? So if asset B would be up here, that means that the price would be too low, right? So if there's excess demand, the price should increase and the return goes down. And if asset A is down here, it means that there's basically no demand for it. That can't be equilibrium, so the price is too high, prices will go down, and the return go up. Right. So any deviation from this red line here in this picture means that you're not in equilibrium, right? Because you can improve your portfolio. that there would be a situation where everyone wants to sell an asset that's below the line and everyone wants to buy more of that asset that's above the line. Right, so in equilibrium, that's kind of totally impossible that this could happen. So that's kind of the direction from left to right. So if you have, so the things that you need to know to be able to draw the security market line is the risk-free asset and the market, right? Because they have betas of 0 and 1 respectively, and then you can draw the security market line. And then it's easy to find any other asset, even if you don't know their betas, right? You have to know their returns in the picture on the left, and then you can kind of put anything on the security market line here. Maybe that's worth kind of noting. That all assets are on the security market line. And any deviation from that is not in equilibrium. If we come back to the slope of the security market line here, was the Traynor ratio. Now, basically this was, and if all the points are all on the security market lines, it means that they all have the same Traynor ratio, right? So another outcome of equilibrium is that all assets in the economy have the same Traynor ratio, right? They all have the same relation between expected return and their beta, right? That's a consequence from this. Okay, so maybe let's read the plot in the other direction. So I told you where you can find points on the left and the right-hand side plot. Let's do the opposite. So where can we find this point here in the graph on the left-hand side? Talking about this point, which is the 0 beta. Yeah, so that's this here, of course. There may be more.
That's beta 0, so probably less one. And that's risk leaving.
Yeah, so that was a correct answer. The question is it the only answer? So where on the left-hand side do we have, well, certainly true, if you have the risk-free asset, this one is over here. But this is not only risk-free, it just means literally beta equal to 0. So where are maybe other assets that are not risk-free, which have a beta equal to 0? Where can I find them in the plot? Again, use the fact.
On the CMF line, because they are less volatile, so they have a less risk.
Yeah, we're just looking at one point of the security market line, though. So basically, the expected returns are the same again, right? So you basically have to look for assets which have the same return as the risk-free rate, and that's basically this horizontal line here. Well, you can't be here. Remember, we can't be in the white area, but you cannot end up here. So that would be an asset which has a return equal to the risk-free rate, which is kind of feasible, it seems to be, right? So everything here are risky assets with beta equal to 0. Right, so there definitely exist assets over here, right? And of course, the risk-free assets should be added as well. Right, so remember that this kind of, it works in one direction, so if it's it has 0 volatility, it has 0 beta, but the opposite case does not necessarily hold. You can have 0 beta assets which are risky. Remember like we discussed this before, right? And we thought about the betas. One example I gave was maybe stocks of a football club, because the probability of the team winning is pretty random. It's usually not depending on how the market is doing at that time. So that typically has a very low beta It's not strictly zero, because maybe jersey sales depend on how the economy is doing. Lottery tickets, if they were traded, right? Because if you win a lottery or no, there's basically zero correlation. That would be probably the perfect example. If you could trade a lottery ticket in the stock market or in the market, then that would be a risky asset. The outcome is uncertain and has probability, right? So it would have positive volatility, but it would have zero beta because it's unrelated to how the market is going. Now, maybe let's quickly mention the derivatives that I talked about before. So I said that